Today we're having a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations S.H Figuarts Star Wars Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi. This web-exclusive figure originally went up for pre-order, I think back in December if I recall correctly, and I've been patiently waiting for it. It has finally arrived from Nin Game in Japan, and quite happy to have received it. This is the first Luke Skywalker in this particular outfit in the 6-inch scale. So the packaging when you first receive it is basically just a cardboard box, and this is usually the case for these web exclusive figures. They come in these kinds of boxes, and really not a whole lot to it. It's there to protect the figure, nice and sturdy. Box itself looks pretty good. You can see the figure very nicely there. It says it's from Star Wars, The Last Jedi, and you know, nice portrait there of Luke, and more images here on the back of the figure in different scenarios, the accessories, yada yada yada. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the box. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at Luke Skywalker. And here is Luke Skywalker out of the packaging, and overall I gotta say that there is a tremendous amount of artistry that has gone into designing the aesthetics of this figure. It really looks phenomenal, and that's often the case with S.H Figuarts figures, but it's not always the case. It's a very proportionate figure. It definitely looks like a man that has been scaled down and he's now wearing like a rain poncho type outfit. From all angles, really, there's a lot of nice detail in the jacket, the way that it's sculpted, the way that it lies on the figure's physique. I'm really digging what I'm seeing, and I think that they focus so much on the aesthetics with this figure that in a way that has been to the detriment of other aspects of the figure. I'll elaborate on that in just a little bit. But first, let's take a close-up look at Luke's portrait, and again, this is one of those situations in which there is an incredible amount of detail that has been created for the face. It looks phenomenal. It looks incredibly like Luke in The Last Jedi. And I'm just really blown away by the sculpting detail on here. But not just that, I mean, the paint detail is tremendously impressive. It just looks absolutely stunning. The beard is just so incredibly detailed. I mean, you look at that and there is so much going on in terms of the coloration, in terms of the sculpt. It looks like they took a great deal of care sculpting those hairs on the beard, which often isn't the case, especially with like a Black Series figure, for example. This looks really, really good. And it's not just the sculpting, it's also the coloring. I mean, there's just so much highlighting, so much shading, like around his cheekbones, around his brow. You can see the wrinkles in his forehead. It may not be perfect in terms of the hair. I feel like the hair looks kind of dusted, for lack of a better word. Like it's weird. It's kind of like, I feel like it should be more gray, like a deeper gray color to more accurately represent Mark Hamill in The Last Jedi. It looks nice. It doesn't look terrible by any means. It just seems to me like maybe it should be a little bit more bulky. It almost looks like he got rained on or something and he just kind of slicked his hair back. It looks like it just needs to be a little bit more, maybe a little more erratic, maybe a little deeper, a little grayer, rather than this kind of, I don't know, it's like a tan color with like, almost like blonde on the top. It's kind of unusual. Like the beard looks great. I don't have any complaints about the beard. The likeness, on the other hand, though, I think is incredible. And like I said, this is a very realistic figure. For me, easily one of the most realistic S.H Figuarts figures that I have picked up. Now for the rest of the outfit, you can actually see that this right here in the center is gorgeously sculpted. Look at the texture on that. I mean, it almost looks like fabric. It's not. I mean, it looks like fabric, though. It's amazing. I mean, the finish on it's got this very slight sheen to it. Belt's looking nice. The poncho or jacket that he's wearing looks great. There's a very slight sheen to it. Not over the top or anything, but very slight. Almost kind of looks like maybe it got wet. And it's kind of maybe dripping with water. I don't know, but it looks great. It looks like a heavy coat for sure. And like I said, very nice sculpting on here. I really like the way that it drapes on his body. You will see that there is a hoodie right here, and it basically looks very similar to what you have there for his shirt on the front. And this is actually a separate sculpted piece. I'll show you how that works in just a minute, but just continuing the look at the body. The arms look really good. You can see that he's got gloves on, or a glove on his right hand, and then he has a fisted left hand, and both look very nice. You get some pretty nice detail on the fists and on the fingernails and such. Pants are looking good, nice sculpting on there, and the boots look quite good as well. It really reminds me of farmer Luke Skywalker from A New Hope. I mean, it kind of looks like those boots that he had back then. No pegs on the bottom. Overall, I am amazed by the aesthetics here. All right, so I mentioned that this is a separate piece right here. So if you want to switch that, all you have to do is pull the head, and it comes off relatively easily. And you'll find that you can pull this off like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the head back on first before I put the hoodie on that he comes with. So you can just kind of see how it looks without anything. It doesn't look bad. The neck maybe looks a little skinny, but I think it makes the hair look a little bit longer when he doesn't have the hood up or the hood on. Like it just kind of looks a little bit longer like that. I feel like it looks incomplete though. Like you definitely need to have that on there. But if you don't want to have that on there, you also have the option for using one of the accessories, and that is the hooded head right here, or hooded piece, hooded head. Basically what you got to do is you stick the head in there like that, and it's a pretty, I mean, it's stiff, but it is a little bit pliable, so you can kind of shift the figure's head in there a little bit, just kind of angle it however you want. And then you take your figure and you just align it like that, and you'll hear it snap in place. So now you have the hooded look to the figure. I think that the hood has a very nice drape to it. I like how it kind of flares out at the bottom. Maybe not as much as I would have ideally preferred. I mean, I think I would have preferred more of a triangle, kind of more Emperor Palpatine type looking hood, but I'll definitely take this. I think it looks really nice. Now, in terms of the hands, Luke comes with 2 fisted hands out of the packaging, and then he comes with 2 open hands. So not as many hands as these Figuarts figures usually come with, but I feel like in this case, it's pretty sufficient. You know, I really like the ease at which these hands come out. It's super simple. So basically you just pull it. Look at the size of that ball joint right there. That ball peg is nice and sizable. And I love that, because oftentimes you get these really tiny ball pins that are very hard to get hands on. That is a really good size. That's perfect. And I get that they can't do that on every figure, but this one has bulky sleeves, so they can kind of get away with it a little bit more. But when I go to put on one of the open hands, I mean, look at the socket there. It's sizable, so basically it's just going to pop in like that. No trouble at all. I mean, this is probably the most simple application of interchangeable hands that I've had to deal with on these figures. I mean, it just goes in really easily. I absolutely love that. And the open hands look really good. There's the gloved hand right there. Nice sculpting on it. And especially the left hand right here. Look at that. Look at all the little knuckles and wrinkles that he's got there. Fingernails. All right, so let's talk articulation on the figure. Luke basically follows the usual S.H. Figuarts articulation format. So he has a ball pin at the very top of the head, which goes into the neck. The neck also is on a ball peg, so that enables you to get a pretty nice amount of movement. You can go down, you can go up, you can tilt the head, you can go side to side. It's great. Lots of movement that you get there. At the shoulders, he has drop downs. They're a little bit more mild compared to some other figures, but they do increase the range of movement that you get. You can get the arms out. You can get them to circle thanks to that insert molded joint that you got there. You got bends at both of the elbows. They are pretty tight, especially the right one on my figure. Listen to this. It's really tight, but better tight than loose, I might add. And here at the wrists, very nice. The movement here is very fluid, and I think that's also in part due to those really huge joints. I mean, this is excellent range of movement on those wrists. Probably the best I've seen on one of these Figuarts figures, if I'm honest. Here at the torso, you get a ball hinge, and you can kind of go up, kind of go down, side to side. It helps with posing. For the hips, there are no drop downs on these hips. They're not going to drop up or down, but you do get some good movement from them. You can go up pretty much all the way. There's not too much interference from the bottom of the robe. If you wanted to make him sit, it's a little more difficult to get the split because you have this part of the coat that hangs out here. Oh, there goes the leg. Here at both of the knees, you also have bends, so you can get them to bend pretty much all the way. Again, they are kind of blocked from the robe, but it's not too bad. They don't really rotate a whole lot. And then we get to the ankles. Okay, so these ankles are interesting. So while you can pivot them side to side, which is nice, and up the toe right there like that, doesn't go all the way up, but it goes up enough. You can't really get them to go forward and back all that much. So it goes like up and it goes back a little bit, but not that much. They're just kind of obscured because the joint is covered by that bottom part of the boot. And that kind of becomes annoying when you're trying to pose him because you just don't get a whole lot of movement there. But the rest of the movement is pretty good. As far as accessories go, we get this necklace that has the Sith kyber crystal on it. According to the visual dictionary, it's just like some ancient generic Sith kyber crystal. I don't know why Luke has it. It didn't really play any part in the film other than just being a background decoration. But it's nice that the figure has it. It's pliable, but it doesn't really go on his neck. It'll fit if you get it on there and just stretch it. You can get it around his neck, but the aesthetic is really weird, so I'm not even going to bother with that. But it's detailed enough. It looks decent, but it is kind of a throwaway accessory, it feels like. And unfortunately, I kind of feel the same way about these two compasses that he comes with. These were accessories based on something that we see in Star Wars Battlefront 2, if you played the game. This does have some meaning to the plot of the game, kind of, sort of, but you just see it in the background again in The Last Jedi. It's not really like doing anything. It's just like a little, I don't know, supposed to be some sort of a compass of some sort, and it looks good for what it is. Almost looks like something out of a Zelda. And then you get the open compass as well, which basically it looks like the same thing. It's just open instead of closed. And that's it. That's all you get in terms of accessories. You get the hands, you get the robe, and then you get this. Not very exciting. And that's what I was trying to allude to at the beginning of the video. I think that with this figure, they focused so much on the aesthetics of the figure that they kind of slacked in a few other areas. Maybe not slacked, but just kind of disregarded other things that we as collectors probably would have appreciated. For one, you have the ankles, which are very weird. But two, the accessories really aren't all that exciting, especially since they don't really mean anything from the film. Why didn't he come with that huge fish that he caught that you could wrap around his neck? I mean, that would have been a really cool accessory. Or I really feel like he's missing the lightning rod or whatever it was that the stick he was using to fight with Rey. That feels like a really missed opportunity here for including that, and just kind of fleshing out a little bit more of the accessories, because I mean, as it is, it's a web exclusive. You're already paying a little bit more than you would on a normal Figuarts figure, but the fact that it didn't come with more than these really trivial accessories is just kind of a letdown. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Bandai Tamashii Nations S.H. Figuarts Star Wars Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi web exclusive 6-inch scale figure. Overall, you guys, I like the figure. I think that as far as aesthetics go, for me anyway, it's one of the best looking Star Wars figures in the S.H. Figuarts line. I think that it looks tremendously good. There's just no denying the amount of artistry and level of detail that went into crafting the head sculpt. It looks phenomenal. The textures that involve the outfit also look terrific. It's one of the best looking examples of a costume that we've seen in this line as well. The hands look great. It's nice how he has two interchangeable hands, but there's not really anything you can do with them other than hold these accessories, which just aren't that exciting and really don't feel all that impactful here. And that's probably my biggest gripe with the figure, is that he doesn't have better accessories than what he has. I still love the figure. This is an aesthetically focused figure. I feel like everything about the figure is about the way that it looks. You can't get him in any really extreme poses because I think he's just meant to stand on your shelf and look beautiful. I mean, that's really the only thing I can think of, because he doesn't really do a whole lot with his accessories. Even the articulation, although it's pretty much on par with anything else in the line, the ankles are kind of problematic, and he just doesn't really get into any extreme poses. I mean, you have that long poncho. It's a solid figure. I absolutely am happy to have it in the collection. I know that there's going to be an S.H. Figuarts crate Luke Skywalker, and that's the one I'm really, at this point, looking forward to. I'm really excited to get that when it does come out. If it does come out, hopefully it comes out. But for now, this is going to look great on my shelf. If you did pre-order it, or you do decide to go back and get it, I mean, just know that you're buying it mostly for the aesthetics. It really doesn't do a whole lot, doesn't really come with a whole lot. So if that's kind of important to you, I would just hold off for the crate Luke. Otherwise, this is fantastic. Short of the lack of accessories, I love it. Alright, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If so, do give us a like, do subscribe, let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to the Cantina Chatter podcast on iTunes. For details on donating through Patreon, click the link below. We appreciate all of your support. And as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.